COSATU members refused to be addressed by ANC chairperson Gwede Mantashe at their 14th National Elective Congress, which is underway in Midrand. They're currently on a lunch break. Let's cross over to my colleague Katlego, Legodi, who is covering that for us. Katlego, you were in the middle of an interview. Please do continue.
Well, Nompu, the ANC seemingly barred from addressing those gathered here. About 2,000 of their members of COSATU just took to the podium just as about ANC President Gwede Mantashe was about to address those gathered here. You can imagine that they are forming part of the tripartite alliance and they are supposed or expected really to deliver a message of support here today. But the workers on the ground, members of COSATU, were not having any of it. I'm going to invite into the conversation now Mr. Zola Saphetha. He's from NEHAWU, just more or less just here with some members of the union that were chanting there, barring the ANC chairperson from addressing those gathered here. So welcome to the SABC. You're just still letting us in on really what led to the workers, going to the podium, approaching the podium and just barring the ANC chairperson from addressing the workers here on the ground. Really, it's seemingly more or less that things are not easy and things are not right for the workers on the ground.
Yes, the delegates at this Congress represents the general feeling of their colleagues where they are, which is represented through a misery and the pain and suffocation that shall never be accepted. And they are signaling that message and they're clearly communicating to the ruling party that things shall never remain the same. They ought to change. As a result, they are using this first day as a grounding for the real fight post this Congress. Because we're suffocating, we have nothing left except our labor. And that's a message that we're sending.
And just let us in on the challenges. We know very well that we would see members of COSATU just in the forefront in the lead up to the elections in supporting the governing ANC. But then here we are leading to the 2024 national elections, and it seems that there's going to be some sort of change in terms of your approach to your relationship with the ANC. What are the workers saying on the ground?
Let us not presume what to be the logical conclusion of the Congress. This is workers' parliament. Each affiliate came here with its own proposals in terms of what would be the strategic way forward in 2024. Already there are proposals, for instance, as NEHAWU were quite clear that this Congress were going to lobby and engage others to support the Communist Party in 2024 because we have no other option that we can rely on except the party. But that's the view of NEHAWU. It's going to be tested there and we'll hear what the Congress, how Congress resolve on that matter. But this is a package that were given by our members to communicate at this Congress.
We had to break for an early lunch there, looking at the fact that more or less the workers here on the ground were relentless in chanting Asinayo Mali, to the ANC chairperson. Can we expect to see him taken to the podium here after lunch and addressing the workers, or it's just it's a statement that you're sending out to say that you're rejecting and barring him from addressing the workers here today?
Remember that it was a time of a lunch in any way, but with his arrogance, it's going to make it so difficult for delegates to consider giving him a space because he provoked them as a form of reacting. However, COSATU has called a meeting of President and General Secretaries. The matter will be discussed there and we will only hear what that meeting resolve as it released, whether it will allow him to proceed or not. But remember, whatever decision that will be taken ought to be communicated to the delegates to the Congress, because these are the delegates at the Congress that have demonstrated the fact that they have not been paid in the last 3 years by the ruling party that is at the center of government. So you will imagine that a pay to a worker means a lot because it's a personal matter. That's how it survives. So we will not take things for granted. They want a ruling party that takes them serious and that will give them modesty to themselves.
Mr. Zola Saphetha, thank you very much for your time there. Mr. Zola Saphetha coming through from the NEHAWU, just letting us in basically on their dissatisfaction here on the ground. You can hear them. I'm just going to step out of shot so I can show you what's happening here. They are holding placards basically saying they're rejecting anything less CPI. They're also saying here that down with austerity measures on the ground, calling for real salary increases, saying that more or less what has been happening on the ground has really not served the workers on the ground. This is a sentiment that we'll see also, after lunch. We heard there from Mr. Zola Saphetha that the presidents of the unions and the secretary generals of the unions are going to be meeting now at lunchtime to just more or less craft a way forward. As you can imagine, that this is a 4-day conference, and the role of the ANC here would be expected in terms of their participation and their contribution to the 14th National COSATU Congress. It's back to you, Studio Nompu.
Thanks very much, Katlego, Legodi, there for us. And Mr. Saphetha, they're just saying that meetings are being held at a high level among COSATU leaders, which will determine whether indeed Gwede Mantashe will be able to address the delegates, and they will have to be informed, and it is only them who will decide whether they'll give him the space to speak to them as they describe him as arrogant.